Today I'm going to show you how to make a stuffed bell pepper casserole. My kitchen's already organized and prepped, so with that being said, let's get to cooking. For our stuffed bell pepper casserole, meat of choice is going to be ground turkey. However, substitute with whatever you want. All right, if you want to do like a 50-50, maybe pork and beef, you could definitely rock out with that as well. First thing I'm going to do, since I'm going to be using lean turkey, I'm going to add a drizzle of oil to my pan. However, if you are going to be using, let's say, maybe ground chuck or pork, you can skip the oil part. I'm gonna add the meat to the pan. Gonna start to break the meat up. We're gonna cook our meat until it's no longer pink. If you don't have one of these right here, get yourself one of these. Let me tell you something, this helps out so much when it comes down to breaking the meat apart. Very helpful, little handy tool. All right, everything is looking good so far. I'm gonna swap my ground meat chopper for my handy dandy spatula. All right, and to this pan, let's get some aromatics going. So I'm going to start off with adding some onions. We're going to incorporate the onions with the ground meat, of course. And we are going to allow our onions to cook until they become translucent, which should take about, I want to say honestly, about 2 minutes. Just in case you are wondering, I am cooking on medium-high heat, trying to get in and out this kitchen, okay? Because this is a stuffed bell pepper casserole recipe, we got an array of bell peppers, all right? We have our yellow, our green, and our reds. So we're gonna go in with our bell peppers. We're gonna make this dish really pretty and tasty, of course. We're gonna cook our bell peppers until they become slightly softened as well. But we're not gonna cook them down so much to the point where, you ever seen some dishes, right? Where the dish consists of bell peppers. Let's say you have your reds, your greens, which is typical, but you can't really make out what it is, or they look really dull in color. That's because they're cooked out totally, have no more crunch remaining, so therefore they lose their vibrancy. And that's not what we're doing tonight, all right? We want to kind of keep our vibrant colors going. At this time, let's add some minced garlic. Well, actually, this is garlic paste. But if you have minced garlic, you could definitely add that as well. We're going to cook our garlic until it becomes fragrant. Since we all eat with our eyes, we want this dish to be as good looking as possible, okay? I was trying to figure out a word. I'm like, what's another word I could use? And that's the only thing that came to mind. So hey, good looking it is. That's what it's gonna be. All right, now, with that being said, it's time for us to season, all right? So I wanna go on with some garlic powder. But Tammy, you just added garlic paste. So what? Garlic powder has a different flavor profile. That's all you need to know. We're gonna add our garlic powder. So since it has a different flavor profile, we gotta add the garlic powder for the extra flavor. We're also gonna add some onion powder. At this point in time, we're seasoning to taste. I'm also gonna add some of my all-purpose seasoning for a little pizzazz in flavor. That's low sodium, by the way. We're gonna add some paprika for color. Once we add our tomatoes and tomato sauce to this dish, the orange hue of the paprika is gonna work out perfectly when it comes to that beautiful color that pops. We're also gonna add some smoked paprika for a little smoky element. Okay, that's good enough. I went ahead and lowered the stove because not only am I yapping, but I'm adding my seasonings as well. We're gonna add a small pinch of salt, ground black pepper. Now you could only add the salt and ground black pepper if the seasonings that you're using does not consist of a lot of salt. This is ground turkey, so I'm gonna add a small amount of chicken bouillon. However, if you are using ground beef, feel free to use beef bouillon. Give that a quick stir as well. Make sure everything is perfectly combined. We're gonna go in with a big girl spoon. This is my behind the scenes spoon. Yeah, I'm just joking. Perfect. When you season your foods, definitely go in for that taste. Make sure everything is good, because great cooking consists of having a great base, all right? If the base of your dish, which happens to be our ground meat, is not good, is not seasoned to perfection, well then guess what? The remaining product or the remaining dish, you're gonna be missing elements or depths of flavor, all right? And we don't wanna compromise on our flavor. Diced can of tomatoes infused with garlic, basil, and oregano in. 8-ounce can of tomato sauce. Give it a good stir. Make sure everything is perfectly combined. I have my pre-rinsed rice. This is parboiled rice. Now here's the thing, when it comes down to parboiled rice, this rice needs to cook for 20 minutes, all right? And it will be perfect. Everything is perfectly combined. All right, we're gonna add our broth. Okay, chicken broth, because once again, this is turkey. Beef broth for ground beef. Or unless it's what you have and that's what you want to rock out with. Either way, it's going to be absolutely divine, nevertheless. We're going to add our Italian seasoning. Give it a quick stir. I'm going to cover the pot down with the lid, and I'm going to allow it to cook for about 18 minutes. But in between time, I'm going to, take a little nosy peek, see where we are, to see whether or not if we have to add more liquid. All right, it's 18 minutes so far. Usually when using a non-stick pan, I don't stir my rice. However, I'm just gonna get in there because we do have some liquid in the pot. All right, so we are gonna lower our flame to low heat. And we are going to cook our rice until all of that water dissolves and our rice is not as firm. Time for the big reveal. Let's see. Wow. And I know you're looking at this beautiful stuffed bell pepper casserole like, oh my goodness. Yeah, that is gorgeous. I'm saying, oh my goodness as well. But what I'm going to do right now is we're going to sprinkle on some cheese of choice. And when it comes to this particular dish, right, because I'm using an oven safe Dutch oven pot or skillet, if you will, I'm not going to transfer our rice dish into a baking pan, so to speak, or let's say maybe a casserole dish. However, if you're not using a heat safe or oven safe pan, skillet, or casserole dish, then you're going to definitely have to transfer your rice over so that way you play it safe. After you add the cheese, you're going to place it into your 350-degree Fahrenheit oven uncovered. Everybody's oven is a little bit different, so I want to say maybe about 5 to 10 minutes, but of course, just check to see when the cheese is melted. Feast your eyes on our gorgeous stuffed bell pepper casserole. Wow, this is beautiful, to say the least. Okay, let's dig in. Wow, look at that. We have our cheesy goodness going on. Yay! You can see our rice peeking through. And our bell peppers. Wow. All right, let's see. goodness. Make this today. That's all I'm gonna leave you with. Make this recipe today, tonight, but as soon as possible. Flavorful to the T. And I think all of the complement ingredients that we use, not to mention the all-purpose seasoning right here that I used as well, a compliment. We have the smoky flavors from the smoked paprika. Not to mention we have our delicious Gouda cheese of choice, of course. If you want to add mozzarella, you definitely can. If you want to mix up the blend and maybe, let's say, add some Mexican cheese, you could definitely rock out with that as well. But nevertheless, all of our seasonings, it gives this dish the ultimate pop of, not only pop of color, but pop of flavor as well. Anyway, my loves, as always, I'm your girl cooking with Tammy, and I will definitely catch you in another video. Talk to you later. Bye, guys.